The crisp morning sunlight poured across the glass towers of Ashford City, reflecting off polished windows that made the skyline shimmer like a kingdom built on ambition. Hundreds of employees gathered outside the headquarters of the powerful Sterling Dynamics, waiting for the arrival of their celebrated CEO. Luxury cars lined the entrance while cameras flashed endlessly, capturing every glamorous moment. Then, in front of everyone, something happened that no one expected. The billionaire CEO casually pulled a single $100 bill from her purse, tossed it onto the marble pavement at the feet of a tired-looking single father wearing faded work clothes, and coldly ordered him to pick it up as if his dignity could be bought for pocket change. The crowd laughed, assuming the poor maintenance contractor had no choice. But instead of bending down, the father calmly looked into her eyes and quietly answered with words that froze every smile in the plaza. He said her $100 million empire was already dead, and within a few hours the entire city would understand exactly what he meant. Before we continue, if you believe kindness is always stronger than pride and that every person deserves a second chance regardless of their appearance or circumstances, please like this video, share it with someone who believes in compassion, leave a comment telling us where you're watching from, and subscribe to Silent Kindness so we can continue bringing stories that remind the world humanity still matters. His name was Owen Mercer, a widowed father raising his 10-year-old son, Mason, alone after losing his wife to a sudden illness 4 years earlier. Every sunrise began the same way. He packed Mason's lunch, walked him to school with a warm smile that hid endless exhaustion, then spent the rest of the day repairing electrical systems, inspecting industrial equipment, and accepting every temporary contract he could find. His clothes never looked expensive because every extra dollar went toward school supplies, rent, and medical bills that remained long after his wife had passed away. Few people knew that before tragedy changed everything, Owen had been one of the country's most respected industrial systems architects. He had helped design secure infrastructure that protected several manufacturing companies from catastrophic failures. After his wife died, he quietly walked away from the corporate world because no promotion was worth missing the precious moments of his son's childhood. Sterling Dynamics had recently purchased an aging manufacturing complex where Owen's small contracting company had been hired to perform a routine safety inspection. The assignment seemed ordinary, but the deeper Owen looked, the more disturbed he became. The company had ignored years of maintenance reports, disabled critical backup systems to save money, and hidden dangerous software failures that silently controlled production equipment. What appeared to be a thriving business was actually standing on the edge of a disaster waiting for the smallest mistake. Owen spent 2 sleepless nights reviewing technical documents and realized that unless immediate action was taken, the entire operation would suffer a collapse that could erase nearly every investor's confidence overnight. He prepared a detailed emergency report filled with evidence, engineering calculations, and practical solutions. He did not demand fame or money. He simply wanted someone to listen before innocent employees lost their jobs. Every manager he approached dismissed him because he looked like just another contractor in dusty boots. Eventually his report reached the office of CEO Vanessa Holloway, a brilliant but arrogant executive celebrated for transforming struggling companies into profitable giants. Success had convinced her that instinct mattered more than experience and that confidence outweighed careful listening. She barely glanced at Owen's report before deciding he was simply trying to exaggerate problems for attention. That morning she scheduled a public inspection of the headquarters, surrounded by executives, reporters, and investors eager to celebrate another successful quarter. When Owen politely requested just 5 minutes to explain the risks hidden inside the newly acquired facilities, Vanessa became irritated by what she considered an interruption. Seeking to embarrass him and demonstrate her authority, she tossed the $100 bill toward the ground and suggested he stop pretending to be an expert and simply enjoy the money instead. Her laughter encouraged everyone else to laugh, but Owen never reacted with anger. Years of hardship had taught him that pride often shouts while wisdom speaks softly. He looked around at the crowd, then quietly explained that the money meant nothing because the company had less than 1 business day before its hidden failures would become impossible to hide. He calmly described how overloaded systems, ignored warning alarms, and manipulated maintenance records had already triggered an irreversible chain of failures. Unless production stopped immediately, regulators would discover everything before sunset. Then he picked up the report Vanessa had dropped, dusted it off, thanked the security guard who had shown him respect, and walked away without touching the $100 bill. Most people dismissed him as another frustrated worker. A few employees, however, remembered seeing similar warning reports disappear over the previous months. Anxiety quietly spread through the building while the celebration continued upstairs. Owen returned to his modest pickup truck and drove toward Mason's school. Along the way he bought 2 sandwiches from a small neighborhood diner because Fridays were their tradition. Mason never complained that they could not afford expensive restaurants. Sitting together on a sunny park bench during lunch had become their happiest ritual. While they laughed about homework and baseball, Owen's phone vibrated repeatedly with calls he chose to ignore. He wanted those simple moments with his son because they reminded him what true wealth actually looked like. Meanwhile, back at Sterling Dynamics, engineers began noticing unusual pressure spikes inside the production network. Automated safety systems that should have activated remained silent because earlier executives had disabled them to reduce operating costs. Computer screens filled with warning messages. Supervisors attempted emergency corrections, but every delayed decision made the situation worse. Within hours production stopped across multiple facilities. Government inspectors who had already been investigating anonymous maintenance complaints arrived unexpectedly. Investors watching the company's stock saw it begin falling rapidly. News helicopters circled above the factories as financial reporters described one of the largest operational failures in recent history. Vanessa stood inside the executive conference room staring at the reports she had ignored only hours earlier. Every page matched exactly what Owen had tried to explain. Her confidence disappeared beneath a wave of regret she had never experienced before. She realized she had judged a man's worth by his worn jacket instead of his knowledge. Late that afternoon she found Owen sitting beside Mason at a community baseball field where local children practiced under bright sunshine. Instead of arriving with cameras or bodyguards, she came alone. She watched as Owen patiently helped his son adjust his baseball glove before cheering louder than anyone else after a simple catch. For the first time in years Vanessa witnessed a kind of success that money could never purchase. She apologized sincerely, not because her company had collapsed, but because she had forgotten how easily power can blind someone to another person's humanity. Owen accepted the apology without bitterness. He explained that forgiveness was easier than carrying resentment because Mason deserved a father whose heart remained light instead of filled with anger. He also admitted that despite everything, thousands of innocent employees depended on Sterling Dynamics surviving. If there was still time to save their jobs, he was willing to help. The following weeks became an extraordinary journey. Owen agreed to lead an emergency recovery team, but only under one condition. Every technician, cleaner, security guard, mechanic, and junior engineer would have the same opportunity to raise safety concerns without fear of being ignored. Vanessa accepted immediately. Company culture slowly transformed. Executives who once dismissed frontline workers began listening carefully. Small ideas from overlooked employees prevented major problems. Trust replaced fear. The business gradually recovered, not because of brilliant marketing campaigns, but because respect returned to the workplace. News outlets eventually praised Vanessa for guiding one of the greatest corporate recoveries in recent history, but every interview she gave included one truth she refused to hide. She openly admitted that a humble single father had saved her company after she nearly destroyed it through arrogance. That honesty inspired countless other business leaders to reconsider how they treated the people whose names rarely appeared in boardroom presentations. Years later, Mason graduated as an engineer. During the ceremony he looked into the audience and saw his father smiling with the same quiet strength that had carried them through every difficult season. He understood that real heroes rarely wear expensive suits or stand behind microphones. Sometimes they wear work boots, drive old trucks, and refuse to sell their dignity for even the largest amount of money. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, leave a heartfelt comment, and subscribe to Silent Kindness so together we can spread more stories that remind people kindness is never wasted. Special request: comment below with the words, "Kindness always wins," if you believe respect is worth more than money and that no one should ever be judged by their appearance. As the golden afternoon sunlight faded gently across the city, Sterling Dynamics stood stronger than before, not because it had earned back millions of dollars, but because it had finally learned the priceless value of humility. Owen drove home with Mason beside him, windows open, warm daylight filling their old truck, and peaceful smiles replacing years of struggle. They never became the richest family in the city, but they possessed something far greater than wealth. They had integrity that could not be bought, compassion that could not be measured, and the unshakable belief that one act of quiet courage can change countless lives. Long after people forgot the stock prices and newspaper headlines, they continued remembering the simple father who refused to bend for $100 because he had already discovered the priceless value of standing tall.